20. Good morning, Mr. Foster. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right.
Good.
Thank you.
My name is Alvin Roche. To my left is Mr. Anthony Marabella. To my right is Mrs. Pearl Wise. Would you please give us your full name and your Department of Corrections ID?
Call Foster, 3680-81.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Let me explain the process to you. I will read some information into the record. Once that information is in the record, we'll conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we'll allow Warden Falvu or Warden Ambo to make remarks. And then we'll hear from people on Zoom and people in attendance at headquarters. In opposition to your early release, we have Mr. Herbert Davis, a member of the victim's family. Ms. Alexis Davis, a member of the victim's family, and they will not speak. And we have the victim present, Ms. Doris Davis, the victim, and Ms. Davis would like to speak. But Mr. Davis and Mrs. Davis would not like to speak, right? Okay. And then in support, we have on Zoom, Mr. Carl Foster III, your son. I will not speak. Ms. Carlos Foster, your daughter. She's not going to speak. Both of those are here to support you today. And then we have Ms. Carla Neville, your sister, and she would like to speak on your behalf. We have Ms. Colleen Foster. I'm mispronouncing it. Colin Foster, your brother, and he would like to speak. And Ms. Tanya B. Foster, your sister-in-law, is here in support and will not speak. After all of these speakers complete their statement, we'll give you a chance to make a statement on your behalf, and then we will vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Foster, your DOC number is 368081. You're currently 48 years old. You're a second felony offender. Your offenses are in Orleans Parish, attempted manslaughter. You have a 20-year sentence. In Orleans Parish, armed robbery, and you have a 99-year sentence. And that was on August the 3rd, 2001. Same date, armed robbery in Orleans Parish, 99-year sentence. And all three, the armed robbery is running concurrently, and I think the manslaughter is running consecutively. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Then you have another armed robbery in Orleans Parish, 99 years. And this sentencing date was September 21st, 2001. Another armed robbery in Orleans Parish, 99 years. This is running consecutively. Another armed robbery in Orleans Parish, running concurrently. Another armed robbery in Orleans Parish, 99 years, and this is running consecutively. Another armed robbery in Orleans Parish, and this is running concurrently 99 years. and 2 more armed robberies. Both sentenced 99 years. Both running consecutively each other and the other consecutives for a total sentence of 693 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your parole date was August 1st, 2021. Your adjusted good time date is April 1st, 2693. Your full term date is June 1st, 2093. Is all that information correct?
No, sir, my, adjusted date, my full-term date would be 26/6/85.
Your master record is amended on November 17th, 2022, only 2 months ago. The amended master record amended only 2 months ago in November 22 states that your adjusted good time date is April 1st, 2693. Your full term date is June 1st, 2693. Now, we're not gonna argue about the
That's
couple of
right,
years.
that's right.
In the year 2600.
That's right.
Okay. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Marabella. Would you please answer Mr. Marabella's question?
Good morning, Mr. Foster. How are you? My name is Tony Marabello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Foster, how old are you, sir?
48,
And you've been in prison for how long now?
23 years.
23 years. So what, you 25 at the time of the commission of these crimes?
24 going on 25, yes, sir.
44, 25, okay. Tell me a little bit about who you were back then, 24 years old. How far did you go in school back then?
I have a GED. And
When
I
did you
started
get your GED?
From Scenic High School
When did you get it?
in 1992.
Okay, so you had a GED back then, okay? Were you working at all?
Part-time and ballroom part-time, stuff like that. Yes, sir.
And did you drink or do drugs?
No, sir. Went into
You
that.
had to do drugs.
I have done drugs in the past.
When did you do drugs in the past?
Well, when I was youthful, moved like around 17, 18 years old. I was young.
What kind of drugs did you use when you were 17 and 18?
Marijuana, crack cocaine.
How often were you using marijuana?
Marijuana probably regular.
Regular, every day?
As much as I can get it. As much as I can get it.
And how often were you using crack cocaine?
That wasn't really my thing, but you know, I did it before. I have did it.
When did you stop using drugs altogether? When was the last time you used any kind of drugs? Marijuana, crack cocaine, heroin, anything?
I would say the last time I had drugs would be before I was convicted, right before I was convicted. And since I've been here.
All right, well, let's talk about before you were convicted. How often were you smoking marijuana? Around 2000, I guess it was. When were you arrested for these armed robberies?
In
I'm
2000.
sorry?
2000.
2000, June of 2000? How often were you smoking marijuana before you got arrested?
Probably every day. Every chance I had.
Okay, well, a little while ago, I asked you, drugs a problem, and you said no.
I didn't say
You
drugs
consider
not a
that
problem.
to be a problem when you were smoking marijuana every day?
Yeah. I was smoking marijuana every day. I didn't ever say it was not a problem. It was a problem. It caused a whole lot of problems for me.
Maybe I misunderstood you. Okay,
Yeah,
that's all right. Appreciate you being
sorry.
clarifying that for me. What about alcohol? Did you drink alcohol?
I'm not into alcohol. I can't
Did
handle
you
it.
ever drink alcohol?
I didn't drunk before, but not like drinking. I occasionally drinking, going, like a family function or something like that. But just drinking alcohol, that wasn't me.
All right. Did you ever have any kind of drug or substance abuse treatment on the outside before you came to prison?
As a child, as a minor, as a juvenile. As
As a juvenile,
yes, sir.
what kind of treatment did you have?
I was in Methodist Psychiatric Hospital for drug abuse
And when was that?
in like 19, probably late 80s, early 90s. I can't really be specific on a date.
How long were you in the hospital?
That did 90 days.
Okay. When you came out, you went back to using marijuana?
It would have been some years later. When I got out, I did time as a juvenile.
Okay. And when you got out of prison, when you got out of your juvenile time, you went back to using marijuana
Yes, sir.
pretty much daily?
Pretty much daily.
Tell me a little bit about these let's talk first off about 1996. You were arrested originally for armed robbery. You went to trial and you were charged with illegal discharge of a firearm. What were the facts of that case? What was that about?
Me and a guy had an incident, and he told the people that I tried to rob him. I didn't rob him, never robbed him, but it was behind a drug deal going bad.
Okay.
And
You went to trial or did you plead guilty?
I went to trial.
Yeah, you went to trial for armed
Yes, sir.
robbery and found you guilty of illegal discharge of a firearm.
Just trying to find him.
Well, let's talk about all these armed robberies in 2000. There was an armed robbery in May 7th, May 17th, May 30th, May 31st, June 2nd. Tell me about all those armed robberies.
I was doing some things I shouldn't have been doing. I did a lot of stuff I shouldn't have did, stuff that I'm not proud of.
Tell me what you did.
I robbed some people and did some things. I committed crimes that I really feel sorry about right now. That I shouldn't have did a long time ago.
Let me ask you this. Were you on drugs at the time?
It wasn't really based on me being on the drug. I'm not even gonna blame it on that.
Well, why did you commit all these armed robberies?
I just was in between living places and not having my own spot or whatever, and I just made some bad choices. Never had, if I didn't have money, I just was doing what I, could do to survive.
Let me ask you this. So you went to trial, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
For how many armed robberies? Was it 14 or something like that, 12?
Something like I can't remember the number.
Okay. And you took the stand and you told the judge, and wasn't you didn't do it. Why'd you do that?
Yeah, I was trying to deny. I was trying to get where I wanted to go home. I wasn't trying. I know what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry I did it. But at the same time, at that time, I was trying to get back out.
Did they ever offer you any kind of a plea bargain? I mean, you ended up with 683 years. Did they ever offer you any kind of a plea bargain?
Yes, sir.
What did they offer you?
I want to say 80 years or 60 years, something like that. And at the time, 80-year or 60-year sentence at me being 25.
Yeah, 80-year sentence might as well be 683. I understand that.
No, it wasn't just that. I felt like if I took a 60-year, 80-year sentence then, I would have been dead before I got out of here.
That's what I'm saying. I hear you. I understand that. Somebody offered send me to jail for 60 years, they might as well send me for 1,000 years. I understand what you're saying. But you did get on the stand under oath and you lied to the judge. And that's probably why you ended up with 683 years.
I agree with you.
Okay, all right. So now, are you different then that 23-year-old man, that 24-year-old man that committed all these armed robberies?
1,000% different.
Okay, I'm sorry?
I said 1,000% different.
Okay, tell me how you're different and why.
I knew now that I didn't have no value on what I was doing when I was out there. And not just to my victims, but I made other victims out of my family, and especially my children. I just made a lot of bad decisions coming up, and I know I heard more than just the people that I robbed or the incidents with them incidents. I made victims out of my family, myself, society, period. And it was just a bad choice that I made that led to this. And I know now, if I could have did it all over again, I'd have never did that.
Let me ask you, when I asked you a little while ago about marijuana, when was the last time you did marijuana? You've been very honest with me, and I appreciate your honesty. When was the last time you smoked marijuana while you've been in prison, or had drugs of any kind while you've been in prison?
Maybe about 8 years, 5, 6 years ago.
Now, you've taken a few programs. You took Living in Balance and you took Cage Your Rage, both of those back in 2011. Now, you've done drugs in prison since then, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Now, you were in Thinking for a Change. Did you ever finish Thinking for a Change?
I broke my leg and my wrist, and I missed the class because I was in the hospital.
Finish that program.
He's currently in it right now.
I'm currently in
Maribel.
the
In it right now. Okay. So tell me how you broke your leg. How'd you break your arm and your leg, your hand and your leg, your wrist and your leg?
playing football and turned into a fight.
Let's talk, while we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about your disciplinary record. You've been in jail, been in prison for 23 years. And you've had, how many write-ups have you had?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
don't know right offhand.
Right.
I have a lot of contraband charges like cigarettes and stuff, and a lot of them, which, you know, those types.
41. You've had 41 total write-ups,
All right.
but you had 10 of those write-ups in the year 2021. And your last write-up was about 14 months ago. Usually when we see people that come in prison, oftentimes they get a lot of write-ups when they first come in, and then they taper off, and then they gradually don't have any more. But here, all of a sudden, you know, you got more recently than you had before. What's going on with it?
What happened was, I won an appeal in July 27th. I think I got it with me. Hold on. Yeah, I won an appeal. There you go, right here. I had won my appeal in July 27th. July 27th, I won an appeal from an incident that occurred on 5/14.
What year?
2021. And I won.
Okay.
I had an appeal granted.
Which one in 2021?
A contraband charge. Rule
Okay.
1.
All right, so you had a write-up on May the 14th of 2021. October, you had 2 write-ups on May 14th.
May 14th, 2 of them.
One of which was contraband. So you won that appeal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in October the 11th of 2021, October 12th of 2021, October 20th of 2021, October 25th of 2021, and November 4th of 2021. You had write-ups.
All work offenses. All work offenses. I was in the working cell block, and at the time, I was trying to get out of the working cell blocks already because I had won my appeal, and they never granted. I mean, I was never, the appeal was never acknowledged, even after I won it. So I stayed in the cell blocks with the work offenses. That's where the work offenses came from, because I mean, I wasn't trying to, I was really trying to make a point that I wasn't pulled by me not supposed to be in the working cell block at the time. That's why I kept catching the write-up, the same write-up, because it was only, I felt like it was only fair that I wasn't even supposed to be in the working cell block from the beginning. I already had to won my appeal and was supposed to be back in population already. Pertaining from the Department of Corrections, from the Secretary of Department of Corrections had granted appeal.
Mr. Foster, let me ask you, where are you gonna live if you get out?
Right now with my daughter
Where's that gonna be?
in Metairie, Louisiana.
And what kind of work are you gonna do?
Right now I have two offers. I have one with a painting and wallpapering company, and I have another one with my cousin. He wanted me to drive a truck for him as with his courier service.
Well, let me ask you this, what's your plan to stay sober?
Right now, I know with the parole system, I can't afford to be on those drugs and go take a dirty urine and have to come back here.
Well, I mean, you probably knew that before, and you told me you've had a number of write-ups for contraband in prison, smoking marijuana in prison. I mean,
I know.
what is your plan? Your plan is, oh, well, I don't, I might get caught, so I'm not gonna do it. That's never stopped you before.
No, that's not
What is your positive plan to stay sober?
I know I want to make things right with my family. I want to make amends with myself. And what I've been lately, I haven't been doing those drugs. So
I hear that.
I don't need it. I really don't need it. I really don't.
Well, you're asking this board to let you out. You've smoked marijuana pretty much every day of your life. Now, you said, oh, well, that had nothing to do with my armed robberies. I don't believe that. You were smoking every day. You smoked while you were in prison. If you get out, and if you don't have a plan to stay sober, you're going to go right back to it. So my question to you is, how saying Carl Foster's got a good plan, he's going to get out of prison, and he's not going to go back to smoking dope every day and doing crime. But tell me why I should believe that. Not because you think it's true, not because you want to prove to your family you can do it. Sure, you've got all those responsibilities and all those wants. I understand that. Tell me how you're going to stay sober.
There's only one way for me to do it, to stay sober to myself, to be true to myself. I can't, that's the only way I can do it, is to be true to myself and say I'm not going to do something and just don't do it. And
so you think it's a choice. So you think
it's a choice, it's basically a choice.
doing drugs is a choice. You don't think you're a drug addict?
I never considered myself, but I've abused drugs, and some people be in denial. I was in denial of that, I guess. But right now, I'm not. It's not on my mind. It's not nothing I want right now.
Said you were in denial?
Sir?
Said you were in denial?
I didn't have denial stages, a lot of them. And right now, it's not. I mean, I just don't have that urge for that. I feel like I need to be, if I'm going to be a better person, I can't be doing the drugs.
I agree with all of that, but I want to know what tools you're going to employ to make sure you don't do that again.
Prayer.
What?
A lot of prayer.
Mr. Foster, I just want to tell you one thing. I'll tell you a little bit about me. 14 years, I was a judge and I ran a drug court. I presided over a drug court. I have heard so many people say exactly what you said. It's a choice. I can go out and I can choose to do it. That's BS. Drug addiction is a disease, and it's not a choice. If it were a choice, it'd be very simple. It's not. You're gonna go back out there, you're gonna have all the same pressures you had before you were out there. You're gonna go right back to doing drugs, you're gonna find yourself right back in prison. You need to have a plan, which you don't seem to have. Except prayer, that's a good thing. Prayer is an excellent thing. Prayer isn't gonna do it. Prayer alone is not gonna do it. You have to have a plan. Have you ever gone to an AA meeting?
Yeah, Bill, on the street.
When?
If I done had AA meetings up here and substance abuse meetings, we have all that. We have all those type of classes.
I understand you have all of those things, but you didn't mention anything to me about that's what you're gonna do when you get out. Do you know anything about the 12 steps?
Yes, sir.
What do you know about the 12 steps?
That there's, 12 steps to recovery. There's 12
You-
steps to recovery.
How-
Now, I can't quote them one by one. I cannot sit here and quote them one by one, but I know it's a 12-step program in every drug program. And
You know about it, but have you lived it? Is that a blueprint for your life? Have you thought about that?
really, I need to be living by I feel like I need to live more according to the Bible than anything. I messed up. I know I messed up, Mr. Morrell. And
All right,
if I only way I
Thank-
can get myself together is if I use that Bible.
thank you. Now, Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Foster?
Been pretty thorough, Mr. Marabell, on getting the history and questioning him, related to his time here at Angola. He has been in and out of, cell blocks and, he did have these in October to November of 21, had these 5 write-ups related to, aggravated work offense. And, with these write-ups, once you get one and then you get the second, the appeal prior to really doesn't come into play. If you continue to not do what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to continue to get write-ups. So since then, while he has been out in dormitory setting, he is a barber as far as his job here.
Thank you very much, Warden. I appreciate you coming. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Ms. White?
I just had one question about your barber. Are you a licensed barber or are you a self-taught barber?
Well, self-taught, really.
Good, good.
I've been doing it so that was about 12, 13 years old.
Good. That's a good skill. All right, that's all I wanted to know, Chairman.
One paragraph, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Was that contraband write-up in May of 2021 ever appealed, and did he win that appeal?
That's the paper right here.
Hand me that paper right quick.
You do conduct report, it'll tell you.
He won the appeal on, it was granted at the secretary's level. That would have been, granted on July 27th of 21.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
At this time, we'd like to hear from your son, Carl Foster III. Could you open your mic and give us your statement?
Yes, sir.
Would you introduce yourself and give your relationship?
My name is Carl Michael Foster III. I am the son of Carl Michael Foster Jr. And honestly, I would love to see my dad out. I know y'all don't see the best interest in letting him out after doing 23 years for armed robbery and attempted murder, but at the end of the day, he's a family man now. He worries about us. He cares for us. He doesn't want to be in there. He wants to give up that crime life to be a family man, not just to stay in there. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is kind of hard seeing this, because I feel like I'm literally sitting at that chair with him, and it is hurting. So seeing that he put so much into this one day, I just see that he can do better on the outside. And that's all I really have to say.
Thank you, Carl. Let's hear from Carla Neville. Neville?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Carla Neville, and Carl Foster Jr. is my little brother. And I just feel like, I know y'all have him, they charged him, and he was found convicted of all these armed robberies and manslaughter. And I just feel like he served his time for those crimes. And what bothers me is the system will allow a person who took someone's life to get out sooner than a person that commits armed robbery. And a life is more valuable than any material merchandise or money. I've been supporting my brother since he was incarcerated, and I'm going to continue to support him. I'm going to give him all the encouragement. I'm a child of Elohim, and I plan on giving him all the knowledge and wisdom that I have. I'm going to hold him like I've been doing, accountable for when he do things that he shouldn't be doing. When he was young, both of our parents were deceased, and my grandmother and my aunt took me to court, and they took my little sister and my other little brother, and they gave me custody of Carl. So I was a young mother, and it was like he was my son, even though we weren't that far apart in age. And I'm just going to be there for him because I feel like my mom and daddy would want me to do that. I've been doing it since he's been incarcerated, before he got incarcerated. And honestly, something happened years ago that he was running the streets just when he was a young teenager, and it hurt me, but I was looking out for his best interest. And he came to my house and he asked me, could he take a shower and get clean? And I said yes. And I knew they had a warrant out for him. And I called the police and told them he was in my house. And when he came out the bathroom, they were waiting for him. And honestly, I did that because I wanted to save his life. I did not want my little brother in the graveyard with my parents. I did not. And I just feel like he served his time for the crimes that he's been charged with. That's my personal opinion. Like I say, when you put a person's life less valuable than merchandise or money, that's horrible. I kill somebody and I get out in 5 to 10 years, but somebody rob somebody, the person is still living and they got to serve 99 consecutive or concurrent sentences. That's horrible. Life is the most precious thing on earth. Was he wrong? He was definitely wrong. I'm not going to say he was right because he didn't have that to do and he shouldn't have been robbing nobody. We weren't raised like that.
Ms. Neville, can you wrap it up?
Yes, I can. So I will support my brother if he is released from prison to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Ms. Neville.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to hear from Colin Foster, his brother. Mr. Foster? You muted, Mr. Foster.
Yes, my name is Carlin Foster, the younger brother of Carl Foster. I think my brother struggled just now trying to articulate some of what he was saying. I do believe he has the family support around him to get the help he needs. My brother shared with me some things that I probably shouldn't repeat, but as a child, he experienced some things that he never got help for. My brother has been incarcerated several times, and the word incarceration, there's supposed to be help given to people to rehabilitate. He's never been given that help. Never. Was he wrong for what he did? Yes. And I tell him not self. But he has a support system around him to not go back to that life. I believe he does deserve a second chance, just like any man does. I believe he needs help in maintaining that second chance at life. He didn't take a life. He was trying to survive. He had, at the time, 2 young kids. He had been incarcerated. He was a convicted felon who wasn't given a chance to have a job or a regular life. His daughter was just a baby. His son was only 2. What do you give? What do you expect a man to do with children? He's trying to take care of, and he's never been given the tools or the help he needed to do so. My heart goes out to the victims because I've been a victim as well. So I understand that pain, but they're here living with their family. He deserves another chance. He needs help. If he's not getting that help incarcerated, how can you expect this man to change? He has grandkids that he's having to see behind bars. He has help with not only family, but I have a lot of friends. I have a friend of mine, he's a manager at a food distribution company. He's willing to hire him. He has places to go to live. He needs help.
Can you wrap it up, please?
To the family, I hope you all can find the forgiveness in your heart and see that he's not the person he was at 24 years old. I hope the board can see that as well. And I just ask for the best. And if he is denied, I pray and hope that the board finds a way to get him the help he needs to become a better person and a better man that he already is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Now we're going to hear from Ms. Doris Davis. Ms. Davis, okay. Ms. Doris.
Yes. Good morning.
Good
I
morning.
am Doris Davis, and I am the wife of the victim. He is the one that was shot. Okay, I'm going to start that. I am totally against the offender being released. The offender should not be offered any special conditions. My thoughts are to see him serve all of his time. My family and I were emotionally affected, just walking out of my front door for years. I could see him and hear him telling me when I heard the shots. I tried to open the iron door, but I couldn't open it. I knew my husband was out there because I heard the truck coming. He's coming in from work. From work, 3 jobs, 2 jobs. Get off 1 job, then he go clean up office. Then from that job during the day, he would be cutting grass. He had 3 jobs. And each time I walk out that door, my daughter right there, she's 4 years old, walking out the door, You can still see the blood stains. That was the hardest thing to get up. From my neighbors, he shot him there. I went over there, I'm crying for help. My neighbor came and got me. We pulled him over to the front porch. And I'm telling him, I see what you're doing, and I'm gonna call the police. His words were, okay. My husband, I talked to him, he said, I was glad I didn't open the door because he could have hit in there on me and my child. We were the only two there inside. My husband was shot in the arm. He has a permanent scar that reminds us every time we look at that arm. Every time we go to the doctor's office, the first thing they ask, what happened? This is something we'll never forget. They say he didn't murder no one, but he tried to. He shot 3 times. He tried to kill my husband. It didn't happen, but he wanted it to happen. Him, and then they had another friend get out of the car. It was 2 of them. I tried to get the license plate. They had removed no license plate on the car. They had removed the license. Okay. His release being early to me bring back the killing of Father Otis and Mrs. Prax. I know you know that. That happened in December of last year in Covington, Louisiana. Antonio Tyson, he was convicted of a rape, and he was released early from prison just months. And what happened? Great. Back the devil himself. What happened? He murdered a retired pastor. He murdered a mother. She was a mother. She was a grandmother. She was a mother-in-law. She had a family. And what happened? If he would have served his whole time, this wouldn't have happened. They need to serve their time. And I'm here to say that Carl Foster must serve his full sentence, 600+ years. You know why? Because armed robbery was his occupation. That was his job. He wasn't on no 9 to 5. He wasn't out there working. He was out there committing robbery. That's what he was doing. So yes, I'm here to speak and say I am totally against him walking the streets because I live in New Orleans and it's nothing but crime there. And it's waiting for him to hit the streets. Crack, he don't crack now. And you know, I want to thank you for this. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Mr. Foster, would you like to give us a brief statement before we vote?
I want to say that I appreciate my family being here for me. And I'm listening to Mrs. Davis that said I'm on crack or whatever, which my life has changed. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that person anymore.
I wouldn't address that. Just tell us why you think we should release you early.
I'm a different person now. I did what I did, and I'm sorry. I can't say I'm sorry enough. I made some terrible mistakes. And if I was given a chance right now, I'm not coming back to this. I've been here 23 years. I'm tired. I want to get out and be a grandfather, and a father to my children. Anything else, it's over with. I'm tired. Ain't nothing else. I'm so tired, bro. I beg for y'all mercy. That's all I can do. Cause I'm tired of this place. I've been here 23 years. Ain't
Thank
nothing.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Is the panel ready to vote? Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I'd like to thank all of the people who spoke today, the supporters of Mr. Foster, the family of the victim. We have heard both of you sides today. There are consequences to crimes. While it's true, no one was murdered, someone was shot. Live with that forever, as it's been explained today. Facts of the case, the criminal history, those are things that we take into account when we make decisions. But primarily our responsibility is to determine not so much who Carl Foster was 22 years ago, and not so much what he did, although that's a factor. We are to look and see who Carl Foster is today. He's a 48-year-old man in prison. And I can tell just from the interview, he's come a long way. There's no question he has tremendous family support. He's got a good family behind him. He's got people who love him. He's had a difficult upbringing, apparently, as many people have. And I certainly understand that, and I appreciate it. As his brother pointed out, he was never given the tools that he needed, and he needs some help. My concern today for Mr. Foster, in terms of who he is and whether he gets out today or he doesn't, is I don't believe he's got the tools to be able to stay off of drugs. He's used drugs while he's been in prison. I believe, from my experience, that it's likely with the world situation the way it is, the stressors in life, he's likely to go back to using drugs and find himself right back in. He's 48 years old. To a 76-year-old man that sits here today, that's young. He's got a lot of life left. I believe the Department of Corrections has some excellent programs. I do not know why Mr. Foster has only taken a couple of programs. He took Living in Balance in 2011, K-Jure 2011, yet he went on to continue to smoke marijuana after that. He is in a good program now, Thinking for Change. That's an excellent program for him, but it's not a substance abuse treatment program. That's something that he needs. We have excellent long-term substance abuse treatment programs in the Department of Corrections. Steve Boyle saying here's a program that I think you could greatly benefit from, Mr. Foster. It'll help you understand your triggers. It'll understand what the things are that gravitate you to go back to using drugs. But more importantly, it'll give you the tools to be able to prevent those things from happening. You've come a long way. I believe you've got a little further to go. You're young. I hope that you can get in the Steve Hall program or some program like that. But for today's purposes, my vote would be to deny, but I would encourage you to take more programs, especially try to get into a long-term substance abuse treatment. That's my vote.
Ms. Wise?
To the Davis family, I appreciate the courage that it took for you all to be here today and participate in the process. I thank you for that. Call to your family. You have a beautiful family. One thing that you said that I totally agree with, and I wanted to become your mantra. You said, I don't need drugs. Keep saying that to yourself. I don't need drugs. You said that. You figured it out because they were there before when you were doing all this. And also you said you didn't have no other way to support. You had a skill of cutting hair. You have a skill. You have a good financial, you have a skill. I concur with my colleague. My vote is to deny as well. We have civil victim opposition, the fair institutional record, those write-ups, that's very concerning. I urge you to reapply when you're eligible for a rehearing, hopefully after you don't have any more write-ups and you've had some substance abuse, whenever it's available to you in the area of substance abuse. Sit on the front row and really get it. Best wishes to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Mr. Foster, I want to give you a piece of advice. The next hearing is going to come up when you're eligible. You must stay right up free, and you must enroll in some programs to bolster your chances for release. You have a 693-year sentence. The only thing that's going to get you out is good conduct, community service, organizational participation, and good programs. I see none of that in your jacket as of today. You need to start involving yourself with programs, involving yourself with community service, helping other offenders. I agree with my colleague. I'm going to vote to deny your request. You received 3 votes to deny your request for early release. Denied. You have a good day.
This was an emotional roller coaster for me. You know, his brother spoke so well. One of the, I thought, more passionate and real support speeches that I've heard in a long time. And then you had on the flip side, the victim came out and also gave a very powerful victim speech. He really didn't have any chance, though, of getting out. I mean, he spent so much time doing nothing, really. A couple classes. 693 years. That might be the longest sentence we've seen come up for a parole hearing. I do believe him that he is tired, and he looks so defeated. I have this list here, I'll put it in the description below, of kind of like all the crimes that he had, that all the details that got him all these different sentences. And yeah, he was a bad dude. It's just like victim after victim, story after story. Whoops. But they're right. I just agree with the board completely. He doesn't have the tools, like his brother said, and he needs to get the tools, and it's in his power to get out. So he's got to pick his head up, and he's got to show the board, and he'll get out. So it's the right decision, and really, he's in a great position. So it's on him. It's on him. With that, I'll let you go.